So today I'd like to talk about money and my problem with it and how that affects my success, and how I'd love to do something about it. And yeah, not sure, haven't got a plan yet, but yeah. So let me share where I'm at with it, or where I have been for the most of my life, grown up adult life, since I had to either provide for myself or wanted to provide for myself. Um, So one of the two problems I see, and as I speak, I might remember some more, but kind of two key problems I think we all at a level, at a core, are all experiencing. Some are just not either letting that stop them make money, either because they have no choice, they have to, um, or that it's not so intense that it stops them from making money, and they feel and are, or rather have, a healthy self-worth in the sense of financially speaking. So which brings me to my first problem with money, is that there is something reductive. Let's not even go to places that I go to or have been or have gone many times in my life. You know, I'm 51 now, just to remind anyone who needs reminding. So for many decades, when I grew up in a family where money was dirty, although in a wealthy family, but money was dirty, and whatever. It's just all, I get all that. So I have all those issues with money and worth and blah blah. But I also think there is something that we have taken for granted. We have taken for granted that we just need to kind of up our sense of self-worth, and I am worth this much and I'm worth that much or whatever. So whenever I had to make money, or I kind of wanted to because I did not want to do stuff for free or for less than I'm okay doing it, I still had this sense that it's just a random figure. I mean, okay, it's not that random. It's those are the sort of prices. That's my hourly rate. That kind of could add up to a income that would pay the bills. And it's not random in that sense, but it's random in the sense of valuing my service and my worth to a client. And so within this problem with money is not about our worth, is also the part where the other person essentially decides what our worth is if they're paying the money, which brings me to the second point, of ownership. So I mean, this will one day be all in writing, I think, all my content here and much more, because then you get like to edit and to. So this is just going with the flow, and hopefully I will be able to make sense of what I'm saying, but also whoever's listening to this whenever. So the problem is that putting money on ourselves, like this is my worth, I don't know, $300 an hour, I don't know, whatever, or whatever, $5 a minute. Well, it doesn't matter, a day, blah blah. But how is that's not my worth. That's what's necessary to pay the bills. So it's not about me, and it's not about my service. This is where it's all wrong, and then the client, in whatever form, and I'm thinking all through all my life, business life. I mean, I've done various things and had different kinds of clients, and it's always been the same. I've approached it as if, well, in the past, I've approached it more as, or rather considered it more from the perspective of the client, and also in the sense that, so is this gonna be worth to them this much that I'm charging? But at the end of the day, if you're upfront with your prices and people, happy to pay their price, then that's it, that they think you're worthy. Although there is a second or third or whatever caveat or kind of sub point to this, is that how do you know until you have received the service, particularly when it comes to what I currently do, astrology. Before then I did for years of coaching and project management, and it's really the results are at the end of the job, which is the time that the receiver will be will know, oh, this is worth this much or that much, but they have already paid. So, and certainly as an astrologer or coach, there was no refund policy, or certainly not in astrology. or in coaching, possibly there are caveats to it, but overall, not really. Because the service was my time and my skill. And yes, it might not have hit the sweet spot with every client. I was lucky to, well, either clients didn't want to tell me. Obviously, if that was ever the case, then they were happy to give the money even though they didn't think it was that worth. But like I say, I never had a complaint, touch wood. Well, it's just touch wood. But my point is, they don't know until they have received it, until the transaction is complete, everything is complete, we go our separate ways. But then it's too late, they paid me, I'm certainly not refunding because the time and the skill was there that they were paying for. But they're paying for. So it feels so unfair that they haven't got the final say, and yet feels equally unfair for anyone to then, for a client to go, well, actually, I want my money back. Well, this is what you paid for, and that it would be unfair on me or anyone like me who's doing those kind of coaching-like services, healing, service. I don't know what they're called. Anyway, so there's all of that conundrum, which makes the whole money situation just kind of like artificial, like random. That was the random piece that I said at the beginning. But also, so the third piece, is it a third? I think so. Is the question of ownership, which kind of ties in with this whole who pays owns you, and how whoever pays, maybe should decide whether that's worth that price. So I don't like receiving. I like receiving money for my time and for my, almost like a product type of product. So yeah, so it's a product. Sorry, I'm thinking on my feet. I'm trying to distinguish. Yes, let's stick with product. So I do guides at the moment. I do readings, astrology readings, and they are kind of like products. There is a reading. There is an audio recording that you pay for. And yes, you still don't know, there are testimonials, and you can get your sense how good I am, and you can follow me on my other platforms and all the rest. So people, that's how we all decide whether we want someone to read our chart or do that kind of service for us or not. And that's where it ends. But what I produce and what I give and what I get paid for is, it's not even my time. I don't get paid for my time because I spend more time than I charge, if you like. It's not about my time. It's actually about a product. I'm creating a product and I'm giving to the client. And the guides and a few other things basically where I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, I'm going future-wise, or planning, let's say, not hoping, but planning to go, is to create more products that I produce irrespective of the client. It's not in interaction with the client, but it's separate. And then it's like on the shelf, and who wants picks it up, and it hasn't really removed the first two issues I was addressing, but it kind of reduces the sense of ownership, because once it's out of me, out there on the shelf, that's it. I don't own it anymore. Also the reading, once I do it, I don't own it anymore, but I own my time. And which is why I don't do one-to-one live sessions with clients. There is so much to live sessions with clients that can be amazing and energizing and wonderful, truly wonderful. But there is so much to them that it's like burdensome, as in nothing to do with anyone, any client in particular, but just that dynamic of you are there with I'm live in the session, my time, my energy is there, and it's almost like there's no price for that. I can't charge what I would feel happy for that to be taken from me, as in for me to, well, I don't know. Yeah, let's stick with taken from me, because it's for someone else. I'm being there for someone else, and properly being there for someone else. And like I say, I used to love one-to-ones when I was younger and did coaching. Occasionally, because I didn't know, and I still probably would struggle to manage my energy always, particularly depending on the client. Sometimes I would find myself, it would require far more work to maintain my levels of energy up to keep the client up as well, or buoyant at least, or whatever, because maybe they were too heavy themselves or whatever, in the past. And so sometimes I would feel drained, but mostly I was energized and I was feeling great. But like I said, there is this piece about ownership. So if it's a product, once it's out of me, I don't own it anymore. Anyone who pays it, it's theirs, great. But when it's live with me in the same space and time with the client, then there is a piece about ownership, that they own me. Because when we buy something, we essentially own it. Of course, not everyone knows that no one owns me, obviously, or no one owns their therapist or their counselor or their astrologer or whatever. Of course not. But for that hour, you kind of do, if you're live with them. And I don't like that. There's that piece as well. So in addition to all the good stuff and potential drainage of energy, and sometimes, and also it's very inconvenient, like in the way, it can balance itself out with all the good stuff that can come off it. But it's like proper, however, it's like at least not at least, but I can sometimes take up to half an hour to just get myself, depends really. If it's a first time client, definitely. But to get into the space with the client correctly, and this is the harder work, to then disengage from the client energetically at the end of the session. So it's like a whole afternoon is gone for just one client. Well, my kind of afternoon, that 4 hours is for work, and that's it in the afternoon, max 3. So yeah, most of it is gone. And I would always have them in the afternoon. It doesn't work for me in the mornings. Anyway, my point is that there is that sense that they own, whoever pays owns you if you're live, I feel. But if you're producing product, no one owns you. And it's not about no one owns me. It's not the kind of ego stuff. It's just, it's just not appropriate. This is no comment on any client, mine or anyone else's. No one does it so that they own someone. But there is that in that transaction, and the implication, the vibration of ownership. It's like, what do you do with your money? You pay for things, and once you pay for them, you own them. And if they're not like that, tangible products, yes, you might not consider that, you own your therapist for an hour, but think about it. Just think about it. That sense of rightful ownership. It's like, hey, I'm paying you for this hour. You're all mine. You have never said it, well, or maybe you have. I haven't. But yeah, there is that somewhere kind of hinted at, that I sense, and not by anyone in particular, because it's just by the fact that I am the product, if you like, when I'm live with someone. Okay, that's it. 13 minutes. That's it for today, and I'll be back tomorrow.